take their lie and shove it down our throats because we've proved the lie, we've proved the fact. And when you put them both together, choose, choice, matrix. This program is the movie Matrix. A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3 matrix. This is the entire program of Matrix. It is the machine of government. I'm Neil, fighting for my existence as a human. And what is the virus that destroys both the machine and the people? The virus was the illusion of communications. And syntax destroyed. And how did Neil destroy the virus? He says, okay, virus. Neil represents 3 plus 3 equals 6. And Smith had an infinity amount of Smiths, which was the infinity amount of numbers that could be wrong around 3 plus 3 equals 6. And he says, okay, I surrender, take me. What's the first thing the virus of wrong tries to do is rewrite correctness. And every time he does do it, it says, well, 3 plus 3 doesn't equal 7. That's out. 8, that's out. 9, that's out. And inadvertently, you watch it take place in the movie, boom, all the virus is destroyed because it uses up all its energy to prove a lie, which you can't do. And when it's done, the contract was, I can live as a human because I'm correct, and the machine can operate because it's correct, because we need the machine, and the man has to service the machine has to service the man. Well, it looks like everyone's back. All right, we're gonna get started now, folks. Hope everyone had a good lunch. I had a cup of coffee. Way to go. All right, we're gonna go through the parts of speech. There's only 10 of them. And when you guys went to school, you were 10 years old and you studied about prepositional phrases. Well, when you were 10 years old, 11, 12, you were going through puberty. Your hormones made you a complete mess. And after you got done with puberty, the only thing you could think about was sex, boys and girls, you know. And so whatever you learned during puberty was totally like thrown out the door. And the rules and regulations they gave you, you probably weren't paying much attention. You didn't think your parents loved you. And you were just a mess. So by the time you got into the reality of teenagers, again, you were a batch of hormones and misinformation. And then when you finally got out of high school and you were 18 years old, you didn't care much about school. It was just sex. And whatever, to get the better the sex, according to Freud, everything is predicated on sex, and you got to have better cars, better clothes, better makeup, better hair, you know, to incorporate better sex. So you really didn't care much about the world, and that's why you're 40 years old, you wake up one morning and say, we're out in Kansas, Toto, and you want to come here and learn about why the whole world is screwed up. So we went ahead and I was the same way, but I overcame that. And these are the parts of speech. Now, the adverb is used more in language worldwide than any other syntax of communications. Now, the adverb is a modifier. Also remember a vowel and 2 consonants. The adverb operation of syntax is a no contract issue because you're modifying the condition of a fact. If you're going to modify something, that's perjury because it's no longer the original fact. And now the adverb creates the prejudice of your limited education or your limited knowledge to go ahead and sell your opinion or prejudice to another individual by modifying the condition of the fact in front of you. When you take a fact and you modify it with an adverb, it becomes what's called a gerund verb, which means a noun used as a verb. They explain it to you, but it's still a lie. Then they go ahead and they tell you when you went and took sentence diagramming that you need a subject. Well, SUB means no, and ject is contract. Well, you want to create a no contract in a sentence? It goes back to a math problem. The math problem is 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, right? So if I have a fact times a fact times a fact, I'm going to get a fact. But if I do 3 times 3 times 3 times 0 equals 0. Or if I divide, it's still going to be 0. Because a fact times a fact times a fact times a lie equals a lie. There's your math interface on add, subtract, multiplying, dividing. As to if you're going to be correct, you're going to be correct all the time. You can have a sentence with a, let's say, 30 prepositional phrases, completely done correctly. And take the word for out instead of for the witness's knowledge, and then go ahead and write 29 prepositions in the correct order in the sentence, but because you dropped the first 4, now you got an adverb, adjective, pronoun all the way to the end of the sentence, and you've lost all prepositional phrases because you committed a lie to start the sentence. Therefore, you've lost everything. So you can't make any mistakes in this technology. The math will not support it. And we use the math to go and check it frontwards and backwards. When you write a sentence backwards, all the prepositions, we're going to get into that when you do sentence structuring, all the sentences backwards, you have to use the opposite prepositions. Every sentence we write starts with a preposition for. You have 2 verbs, is and are, simple enough. And the word that follows the verb is the word with. My entire book, my website, every document, every lawsuit I ever wrote follows these same rules. And we'll expand upon the sentence later after I explain this. But these positions of where these prepositions and articles take place are very unique because of every sentence is in a complete court hearing. You got to follow the rules in every sentence, and you can't violate them. You do, you make one mistake in the whole entire document, you made a presumption before the fact, it proves you don't know what you're doing. That it was an accident, or you don't pay attention to the accuracy of who you are and what you're doing. So we're striving that don't do something by yourself. Always work as a team. I don't care, the more people you got in your team, the better, because then you got more years of experience to check. That's why law firms do not operate where you have a lawyer working alone. He always has 5 or 10 other lawyers reading and signing his papers to say he did it right, and absolutely avoided a fact at all costs. Because if you create a fact and you're a barrister or a lawyer or an attorney, you will be disbarred. That includes judges. Remember, no law or fact shall be tried. And they have to stay within the confinements of nothing, otherwise they don't have a lodial title, they don't have constitution, and now they've committed perjury through trespassing on a fact, which they don't have title to. That's why they have to go ahead and break the law 24/7. Now the adverb modifies an adverb, modifies an adverb. The adverb then can modify a verb. The adverb can modifies an adjective, and the adjective modifies a pronoun, which is connected by an adverb after it. The only word that can follow a pronoun is an adverb, or a period. When you take 2 nouns and you put them together, black pen, black is a noun, or black is a fact, pen is a fact. But black colors the pen. Therefore, the black now becomes an opinion. Is this a charcoal pen, an ebony pen, or a black pen? See, there's 1,200 shades of black. So what shade is it? And even though this is black, my shirt is just a little bit different color black. So it's subjective interpretation as to what it means, so therefore it's an opinion. Like he has a red shirt on. Trying to explain color red to a blind person that's never seen color. Impossible. So your opinion of an adjective to color something or to modify something is impossible. Therefore, your opinion, presumption, modification has no bearing with the facts of what you're trying to do. So in the adverb, like we do the United States of America, United States of, or excuse me, I'm ahead of myself here. The United States of America. See, you've got the preposition of and the article the, but when you separate them, they both become adverbs. The adverb modifies the adjective modifies the pronoun is connected by the adverb, which then modifies the dangling participle verb America. I was President Clinton's counsel for the sex trial. That's why it was sealed. What is sex? What is? Then Bill Clinton says to the judge, I just showed the American people a verb is and a noun is. Would you like me to show them another verb and another noun? Let's discuss syntax publicly on CNN and tell the world that the syntax of all communications is a lie. Well, no further questions, Mr. President. This court stands adjourned. Then he says, I got to go in front of Congress and I got to talk. And Congress, we're not allowed to take my attorneys in, even though he is an attorney. He's not allowed to take attorneys in with him, and he has to give private consultation to these people. Now, there's a movie called A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. Some of you have seen it. You want the truth? I'll tell you the truth, but you can't handle the truth. And that's what Bill Clinton does. He walks into Congress and he says, before we get started, I'm going to explain things to you. And he makes that statement, and then he holds up a $1 bill, and he explains that America is a dangling participle verb on the money. Under mail fraud, Title 18, Section 1001 is fraudulent conveyance of language, which activates mail fraud banking. Title 18, Section 1341 carries a 30-year prison sentence and a $1 million fine. But the penalty for fictitious conveyance is Title 15, Chapter 2B, Section 78, FF, $25 million fine and 30 years in prison for every dollar published in U.S. currency. He says, I have to address the world at my union address. And I have to tell the world that America is a verb on the money and disqualify all U.S. currency worldwide. Or we can seal my case now. All those in favor of sealing the case, say aye. All the hands go up. He walks out. And no newspaper, magazine, TV, or radio stations makes any announcement about Bill Clinton's impeachment from that day forward. Who runs for president of the United States? Hillary Clinton. No one in America talks about Bill Clinton's impeachment. No foreign government talks about Bill Clinton's impeachment. Not even North Korea. For all the noise you heard on the news about North Korea and the United States, not one word about that. Who becomes Secretary of State? Hillary Clinton. She goes to Obama and says, hey, how about if I call the paparazzis in here and I do a news conference on America being a dangling participle verb? She becomes Secretary of State. Some of you know about the fact that Bill Clinton went to North Korea and got the 2 reporters who were held in prison for 4 years out. And when he was in Honolulu, Hawaii, he was on The Tonight Show, and the question was, how did you get the 2 reporters out of North Korea? I used the David-Wynn Miller syntax. He was going to syntax the North Korean money publicly and disqualify all North Korean currency. Or give me back the 2 reporters. End of story. You see, so knowledge used by the right individual at the right time will create the amount of pressure that's called damage control. And so this is how syntax has the power to make changes and cause things to be influenced. Now the verb is a condition of, is your action. Now the adverb can modify the verb, and the verb, if it stands alone, is an R. Because you use prepositional phrase, verb, prepositional phrase. Because the verb stands alone, it doesn't become a pronoun because you are making a declaration, not a declaration, you're making a claim on your document that says verb is the thinking, the condition is a singular, R is plural, and you take jurisdiction for the verb is an R. Because you define it, it is now what it is on the contract and no one can change it. If you do not take that position, it becomes a pronoun. Is an R. Is used for the is. It's a prepositional phrase. Therefore, is a noun. The is, adverb, verb. Now it's a verb. For the is. For is the pronoun. Is an adverb. For the is. For would be a pronoun. The would be an adverb. The first is would become an adjective, and the second is would become a pronoun. You see, I can change the value of any word I want based on where I place it and knowing what the value of syntax is. So I just showed you an adjective verb, a pronoun verb, a verb verb. and a noun verb. 4 different conditions of state. When I did a sentence, I'll write it over here. The is for the. I got 3 PhDs in Atlanta University on my seminar. And they stand up and say, that doesn't mean anything. That's nonsense. I'm going, well, let's put a syntax to it. We've got a pronoun modified, connected by the adverb, which modifies the adjective, which modifies the pronoun, which is connected by the adverb, which now modifies the dangling participle verb the. So I've got a pronoun the, I've got an adverb the, a second adverb the, and a verb the. 3 different syntax definitions. And I can go to a dictionary and prove that those words are found with those syntaxes in that sentence. It's not an exercise that the is for the. It's an exercise that I have 4 definitions in every dictionary of the world that says there's a syntax definition for a pronoun the, an adverb the, a verb the. If I want to put another one here, it would be an adverb, adjective, pronoun, and make another adjective pronoun. And take 4 conditions of the and show you the definition in the dictionary. And the PhDs in English now said collectively, we have PhDs in stupidity because you have the power through syntax to identify every word in the world with all parts of speech, and you can prove it mathematically, and you know what it means. And they never knew how to do that. 28, 29, and 30 years respectively as teachers, never once applying syntax to their classes, only teaching in adverb verb dialect.
The last that, you said that's a verb?
Yeah, it's a dangling participle. It's been modified by the adverb the, which now makes this one a verb.
Verb is an action word.
No. If I say for the, it's a preposition article noun. I just made it an article, and I just made it a noun, standing next to each other.
Yeah, but it can't be a verb.
Yes, it is. It's a dangling participle verb. You see, this mathematical procedure is an absolute in communication skills. These are the only ways these things can be found.
So question, David. Because of the ambiguity in the language that we have and the modification, you can have a series of phrases, and the syntax that's applied can be different depending on the volition of the person that's doing it and the interpretation that they make. And then they would need to be consistent with that interpretation through the balance of the document. So for example, if I were to take that the is for the, and I said that that was a pronoun, adverb, then I can have a pronoun.
Adjective, pronoun, adverb? No, it wouldn't be mathematically sound.
So what you've got to do is make sure you've got the sequence correct. So if we started from the back of the sentence, we can say the is the 1, 2.
Right, now this is what he's explaining. Where do you sign your documents? On the bottom, correct? Because they have jurisdiction for everything in front of and above. Everything is in backwards. Authorization runs backwards. The first word in the sentence does not have jurisdiction in the sentence. It's the last word. The only thing that appears in front of the last word is the, and then you got to go to the next sentence, next word, and you got to adverb, verb, so therefore this has to be a pronoun. The pronoun is modified by the adjective. The adjective is connected by the adverb, which then connects to the pronoun in front of it, because there's no prepositional phrase to certify the. I mean, the word the to start the sentence. If I said for the, then it would be a 5, 6, 7, and this would become a 2, and then a 5, 6, 7 again. We'd have 2 prepositional phrases, but this is the danger of dropping one word and not starting your sentence with a prepositional phrase. Once you drop the prepositional phrase, you create an illusion. And like I said up here with math, a lie times any truth is still a lie. And that's what happens down here. What do we have here? We have a pen. In order for you and I to communicate, we first have to have an object that we both understand. We assign it an alphabet, the English alphabet. Could be the Russian or any other alphabet, okay, but you and I choose English. 26 letters, we're going to spell this P-E-N. If you and I sign a private contract and it's spelled C-U-P, it's between you and I, and this is now a C-U-P, not a P-E-N. So we agree on what the alphabet is, how to spell it. Now we have to give it a definition. What are the terms? The term is that it's going to be used for writing. And that's going to be what the definition is on our contract. However, if I take the pen and I make a fist around it, it's now a stabbing tool, a concealed weapon, and I'll be arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. It's how you use something which makes a determination as to what the definition of it is. But according to our communications, this is going to be a pen, and so we have a contract of this object. Now, who owns it? Is it for your pen, for her pen, for my pen, for his pen? If I change the ownership of Lodio, I'm going to change the definition of where this belongs. So how do I establish this to be a fact? We have the alphabet, how to spell it, what the object looks like under descriptive definition, who owns it, and now we have a fact, and we call that a positional Lodial fact phrase. So that every word has 900 definitions as a fact. And if we have 900 definitions, 900 ways to certify this to be the fact of ownership, then we have a correct phrase. When you put correct phrases together, then you get into the multiples of order of operations of sentence structure, 900 times 900 times 900 times 900 times 900, and you get into 5.4 gigabytes or billion just with 6 words. And when you're talking that kind of variables on one sentence, and you go with a 7th word or an 8th word or 9th word, now you're into terabytes of information for just one sentence. Huh? Well, in our technology, it's accurate to the terabyte level. Every sentence has a terabyte of information in it, and it's accurate to that level. And that's where the judges can't get around that. So that speaks, see, this course is written on a 29 reading level, folks. High school is 12. Bachelor degree is 16. Graduate is 18. PhD is 20. And we're writing and reading at a 29 reading level. That's why you guys get headaches and you get yourself so wrapped around this thing. Those of you that quit school and never went to school or home studied, whatever, you weren't dumbed down. You don't have that handicap that everyone else had, and you have a great, that's why you failed English, because they couldn't dumb you down. When I was 10, 11 years old, I went to an Amish Quaker and Mennonite school. Had an English teacher who was a Quaker, and she taught prepositional phrases. When I went back to the English schools in Milwaukee, this was in Indiana, in America, in a farming community, and then when I went back to the English schools, they said I was mentally retarded because I couldn't read and write in adverb verb, and I only wrote in prepositional phrases. So they put me in special reading courses trying to dumb me down to an adverb verb scenario. And I knew how to break this stuff down when I was 11 years old and tear it apart. And I said, I won't create a lie. I won't participate the way you guys wanted to. I went through high school with honors. I was on the A honor roll. I went through 17 years of college and had A's and B's while working. And I wasn't going to take a backseat to anything. And then last year in September, I took a first year Business Law 101 with 3 PhDs and all the information I know as a judge. Well, by the 3rd week of school, it was divulged that I was a United States Federal District Court judge. They figured that out from the answers I was given in class, which were above even the teacher's communication skills. And when I wrote my first thesis paper on syntax, the teacher said he never even heard the word syntax, and he was the dean of the business college for 29 years. I'm going, how do you be 55 years old and dean of a college and don't even know what the word syntax means? What does that say about America's teachers? That was really sad. I had to stay after class for an hour and teach this guy about syntax. And then when I syntaxed his lesson program, he goes, oh my God, he says, I'm lying to the students. I can't do my job anymore. I got to make a living. He says, well, I guess you got to come to court and come to class every day and lie to us. Yes.
Now, on the side of being correct, we need to fix the car is for the driving. So that should be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay. Yep, that's right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
And what we're trying to demonstrate is that
The last
the
word
is for the
driving, ing words are verbs.
the is for the is also a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It could also be
A 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2.
or it could be a 4, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Adverbs modify adverbs. See, when you're dealing with an illusion, the subjective interpretation of where you put value or the weight of that word, where you put the emphasis on that word, is going to make a determination how it is. That's why Bill Clinton, when he said, what is, he paused. When he said, what is, he did adverb verb. Or he did pronoun adverb, and then he said, is, with emphasis, which means I'm making it a fact. Because he's saying the definition of is in the dictionary is a noun because it determines the condition of state of the definition. And so he was using it actually under subjective interpretation as a verb, adverb, and as a noun. And the judge didn't want to get into a syntax discussion about breaking down and getting into a syntax argument of how many times or how many ways the word is could be defined, and then prove through subjective interpretation what the value of that word is. He had to vacate the case. And Bill Clinton gets away with a demur because he knows, because Clinton was a student of mine for 2 years going into the trial. That's why I was hired as his counsel. And when it came time to go in front of Congress, it was real easy. Just hold up a dollar bill, disqualify currency in 150 countries. And when Hillary got to be Secretary of State, hey, Obama, you just inherited 11% unemployment in the United States and a world in a depression. Try doing it without money. Do the math. Right? Squeaky wheel gets the oil. Okay. Going back to...
You're suggesting something.
Well, you guys can do the math on that, okay? Adjective, coloring. Adjective always modifies the pronoun. Adverbs modify the adjective, which modifies the pronoun. And an adverb can make several. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and say, the David-Wynn Miller syntax. The would be an adverb, David would be an adjective, Wynn would be an adjective, Miller would be an adjective, syntax would be a pronoun. That's where you put a string of names together. Corporations may have 5 or 6 names in there. Law firms might have 5 or 6 names. That's where you're going to have a bunch of adjectives in front of the last one would be in a pronoun. Where's my prepositional phrase to certify the value of any word? As long as you're going to have a condition of color, it doesn't exist because it's an opinion. Now the pronoun is any word that stands alone. Pen is a pronoun because there's no contract to make a determination as to what this means. If I ask you for a pen, you're going to give me an object, pull out a ballpoint pen. However, you ask me for a penny, and because you speak Maori, I'm going to reach in my pocket and pull out a penny, which is coinage. Does 2 plus 2 equal 4? See, he's saying pen to me, but I'm hearing penny, just like 2, T-O, or T-O-O, or T-W-O. So you've got to be able to communicate with somebody and have a contract to do so. That's why so it is written, so it shall be done, because the oral communications are not what you think they are. The position, as I explained before, is the terms of what your contract is. And once you have your terms of your contract established, we then can have the lodial ownership, which is original. And with these two together, we now have a fact. And once we have a fact, it will become the positional lodial fact phrase. And then you have past time. Past time would be words that end in ed, or the adverb from, or the prepositional phrase from. Either way, you are removed from now time. There is no such thing as the past or the future. There is only now time. You will always be in now time. When you correct the Bible, the Quran, the Masonic codes, you have to translate it to now time, because this is where you're going to be living and working with this technology. The future is a crapshoot. Hasn't happened yet. We'll figure that out when we get there. So it doesn't happen. And the conjunction is and or. And again, and or you have to define. It's not a presumption. The word and by itself is not a conjunction because it doesn't attach to anything. It's a pronoun. Or is the same thing. It's a pronoun unless you take jurisdiction for it. Every word that you use on your papers, you must define those. If you want to and or as a conjunction and a is and a are as a verb, you have to separate a definition under your abbreviations and say these words mean these things and put it right up there at the beginning of the document. That way a judge can't say, that's going to be used for the and. If I say for the and, now you've made a noun out of it. Or the and. The is an adverb making and a verb. I changed it again. Take jurisdiction for how you use it. Okay. Not for storyline. We'll go back to this now. Okay. Okay, now, this is a sentence, but I'm writing this sentence in the form of a graph. Because your mind is a mathematical configuration, a graph is very easy for you to comprehend. So, we're going to say, for the witness, well, we won't use the witness, we use the word claimant. Whenever you start a sentence, write a contract, make any kind of claim, you have to say you have knowledge about what you are doing. There, now it won't move. Of the facts. Is and are equals your thinking capacity. With the claim. Now, yeah, Dave. The claim, you've got, this is a cause. This is an effect. Thinking is your action. This is your possessive. Now, what is the claim? You have two things. You have a plus and you have a minus. Claim, this is going to be a term. These are going to be the terms, not a definition, because definition, DE, means no, fine, contract. Because everything was written in adverb verb, the definitions in all dictionaries are written in adverb verb. So we went to the word terms. So once you establish the claim, you have to establish if that a positive claim or a negative claim. And then you have to go ahead with the contract. And what this is going to be the correct sentence, structure, communication, syntax, language, contract. And then the last thing is going to be by the author. Now, author, authority, authentic, authorization, first two letters, AU. What's the symbol for gold on a periodic table? AU. And if you have a sign, simulation, signature, it's a simulation, SI. That's why they always tell you put your signature down, write it in cursive, because now